keep thinking about that Senate seat, the one that used to belong to Drew. Strange thing, power. It sits there like an empty chair in a quiet room and suddenly everyone starts circling it. Alexis believes she had a real shot at it once, maybe even felt that it should naturally come to her after everything that happened around Drew, but now the air feels different. The seat is slipping away from her fingers, slowly but very clearly, and it looks like it is heading straight into Willow's hands. And honestly, that idea alone already feels unsettling, because Willow becoming a senator is not simply some political twist or career leap. No, there is something darker behind it, something that doesn't sit right when you think about it for more than a few seconds. The name that keeps hovering in the background is Sidwell. Sidwell, a man who does not usually appear in the spotlight but somehow manages to move pieces on the board like a quiet chess player who already knows the endgame. Willow is not alone in this story, not even close. Sidwell's behind her, protecting her, pushing her forward, almost like a shadow that refuses to leave her side. Some people in Port Charles might still believe Willow is acting independently, making bold choices on her own. I doubt it. Deep down, it feels obvious that Sidwell is the real force shaping what is happening. And if we go back to that very disturbing moment involving Drew, the poisoning incident, things become even more complicated. Because the truth is probably uglier than most people realize. There are strong hints, maybe even more than hints, that Sidwell had a direct connection to the moment Willow injected that poison into Drew. Not just a coincidence, not some random desperate act by Willow. No, Sidwell likely planted the idea, pushed it forward, maybe even handed her the poison himself. That thought alone makes the situation disturbing. Imagine the pressure Willow must have been under at that time. A powerful man standing over her decisions, whispering plans, promising protection, but also making it clear that disobedience is not an option. That is the kind of dynamic that destroys people slowly. Sidwell had lost faith in Drew. That seems to be the core of it. At some point, he stopped seeing Drew as a reliable ally. Maybe Drew was asking too many questions. Maybe he was drifting away from Sidwell's control. Maybe he simply knew too much. Whatever the exact reason was, Sidwell came to a conclusion that people like him often reach. If an ally becomes a risk, eliminate the risk. Cold logic. Brutal logic. And so the poisoning plot was born. Sidwell pushes Willow toward it, encourages her, pressures her, maybe even threatens her future. And Willow, trapped between fear and ambition and confusion, does it. She injects the poison. Drew collapses. Later, the public story becomes something softer, something easier to swallow. A stroke, health complications, medical mystery. But the truth probably looks very different. I personally never fully believed the official explanation. Something about it always felt incomplete. Drew's condition, the strange mental lock he experienced later, the way the story kept shifting, it never lined up perfectly. If Sidwell was behind the poisoning, then the idea that Drew's condition was more than a stroke suddenly makes sense. And now, here we are, watching the next stage unfold. Sidwell wants Willow in the Senate seat. Not because he cares about Willow's political dreams. That seems obvious. He wants influence. A senator who owes him everything. A senator who will follow instructions. A senator who will protect his secrets. And Willow is the perfect candidate for that role, because she is already tied to him through something terrible. The poisoning alone is enough leverage to control someone forever. So Sidwell pushes the plan forward. He supports Willow quietly, helps her rise, clears obstacles in her path, and the biggest obstacle right now is Alexis. Alexis losing that seat would hurt her deeply. She has always been someone who fights hard for respect and recognition. Watching Willow step into that role instead of her would feel like an insult layered on top of a betrayal. But Alexis has no idea yet how dangerous the situation really is. Or maybe she is starting to sense it. Because another piece of this puzzle is Lucas. Lucas is not usually someone people expect to uncover secrets, but sometimes the quiet observers are the most dangerous witnesses. I can easily imagine Lucas overhearing something he was never meant to hear. A conversation between Willow and Sidwell, maybe whispered in a hallway or behind a partially closed door. Just a few sentences. That is all it would take. Enough to reveal that Willow and Sidwell are working together. Lucas would immediately understand how serious that information is, and there is only one person he would trust with it. Carly. Carly has always had sharp instincts when it comes to danger and deception. Lucas telling her about what he heard would set her mind racing. She would begin connecting dots very quickly. Willow working with Sidwell. Sidwell's strange behavior around Drew. The poisoning incident. The questionable explanation about Drew's stroke. Suddenly the pattern starts forming. And Carly would not sit quietly once she starts suspecting the truth. That is simply not who she is. She would start digging, asking questions, watching Willow more carefully. Eventually, she might even reach the same disturbing conclusion. That Sidwell and Willow were behind what happened to Drew, not just the poisoning, possibly the mental collapse that followed as well. At that point, Carly would want to expose everything, completely, publicly. But the moment Carly begins moving against them, the danger level increases dramatically, because secrets like this cannot be allowed to surface. Somehow Alexis becomes involved too. Maybe she overhears Carly discussing the situation. Maybe Lucas confides in her as well. Or maybe Alexis simply notices the political manipulation happening around the Senate seat and starts digging on her own. When Alexis learns that Willow may have stolen her political future while secretly working for someone like Sidwell, anger would not even begin to describe her reaction. Alexis would want to fight back. So a small alliance forms. Carly, Alexis, Lucas. 3 people who believe they are uncovering the truth and protecting the future of Port Charles. 3 people determined to stop Sidwell and expose Willow before she gains real political power. On paper, it sounds like a strong alliance. But there is a problem. Sidwell is not careless. People like him survive because they anticipate threats before those threats fully form. And I strongly suspect he has eyes everywhere. If Carly begins investigating him, there is a very real chance he will notice. Maybe he orders someone to follow her. Maybe he has someone watching Lucas. Maybe even Alexis becomes part of the surveillance network without realizing it. Sooner or later, Sidwell learns about the alliance forming against him. And once that happens, he will not hesitate. Protecting his secrets matters more than anything else. So he decides to strike first. This is where things get really dark. Sidwell organizes an attack, quiet, sudden, efficient. Willow may not be the mastermind behind it, but she plays a role, helping, providing information, perhaps even luring one of the targets into the trap. The plan is simple. Remove the threat. Carly, Alexis, and Lucas become the targets. I imagine the moment would be chaotic. Maybe a confrontation that escalates too quickly. Maybe an ambush somewhere isolated. Maybe even a staged accident that turns violent when the victims start fighting back. However it happens, the result would be devastating. All 3 of them end up seriously injured. And then something even stranger occurs. They disappear. A kidnapping. Silent and precise. One moment they are there, the next they are gone. No clear evidence left behind, no obvious trail for the police to follow. Port Charles wakes up to the news that Carly, Alexis, and Lucas are missing. That alone would shake the entire town, because those 3 are not random citizens. Their disappearance would send shockwaves through families, friendships, business networks, even political circles. And somewhere behind the curtain, Sidwell would be watching everything unfold with that same cold patience. Willow too, though I cannot help wondering what she would feel at that point. Fear, regret, maybe both. She might tell herself that everything is happening for a reason, that power requires sacrifices. Still, being part of something this extreme changes a person. I have to admit, part of me believes Willow is already too deep to turn back, and Sidwell knows it. The Senate seat is almost within reach. The biggest threats have been removed, at least temporarily. The story around Drew remains buried under layers of lies. From Sidwell's perspective, the strategy is working perfectly. But secrets have a strange way of resurfacing. Kidnappings create questions. Injured victims sometimes survive. Witnesses appear when least expected. So even if Sidwell and Willow succeed in this brutal move against Carly, Alexis, and Lucas, I doubt the story ends there. Something about this whole situation feels like the calm before a much bigger storm. And when that storm finally breaks, the truth about Drew, the poisoning, the political manipulation, all of it might explode into the open. Just not yet. Not today. For now, the shadows still belong to Sidwell. And Willow is standing right beside him, closer to power than she has ever been, while 3 enemies vanish into the dark.